Welcome to This Week at the NCPA, unique performance on the 5th of January at the Experimental Theatre, 7:30 p.m. Priya Malik in an NCPA offstage presentation. There's poetry, there's music, and there's storytelling, Priya style. Hi, how are you? So nice to meet with you.
Thank you so much, Hrishi. Thank you for having me. Really excited.
Well, I have to say this, I've seen many of your videos on YouTube, and I'm very impressed by the way you handle a live audience, how you go about, weaving in poetry, weaving out of it, the storytelling, the music. It's really a complete package. And my compliments on everything that you've achieved.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm going to start with what people can expect with Abhin, Joshi and yourself on this particular evening on the 5th of January. Is it going to be for your regular fans, some of the usual stuff, or are you looking to break newer ground and launch some of your new material?
So, Rishi, I'm very selective with my live shows. I don't do a lot of them. You will probably not see me announcing an India tour because there is a lot of emotional energy that goes in every show that I do. So, I'm doing a show in Mumbai after 6 months. The last show we did was also at the NCPA. We sold out two back-to-back shows. And after a gap of 6 months, this is a more evolved version of Ishq. And like any other form of art, the more you do it, the more riyaz you get out of it, है ना? तो ये एक evolved version है, एक journey रही है इसकी भी बाकी शहरों में किया है पिछले 6 महीने में. So this is a slightly more evolved, more cohesive, more put together version of the previous show, but it is such a wonderful show. Like I enjoy doing it, and I feel that when the artist is having fun on stage, the audience automatically get reeled in. So that is the whole idea of it. It is very Sufi in nature. It is nothing grand or big. There are no big lights and big music, and I don't dance on stage when I enter. It's all very mellow and very Sufi, very poetic, and I try to keep that vibe. And I try to connect with every audience that I have in the theatre. So I'm really looking forward to it. We are doing it at the Experimental Theatre at the NCPA for the first time. We have done it at the Godrej Theatre before. So I'm really looking forward to experiencing it at the Experimental Theatre.
You know, I'm curious to know, spoken word and, storytelling has taken on new dimensions over the last 5 years. I mean, there's a spoken fest. People are having, you could argue that mushairas have been happening for centuries. The newer version of it being, people who are from Gen Z, millennials getting together, listening to each other's stories. But very seldom do I find a storyteller come poet also being accompanied by a musician.
Yeah.
Did you grapple with that for a bit and said I should do this solo without a musician? Because there is a parallel view of thought that might say, hey, if you're going to play Hosh Walo Khabar by Jagjit Singh Saab, how many people are here for the music and how many people are here for the spoken word? If I'm there for Priya Malik, why am I not getting Priya Malik all the time? So explain that confluence to me.
Sure. I love nothing more than combining different forms of art. And when spoken word poetry started in India, it kind of started with music in the background, but it was a very background thing. There would always be somebody kind of behind you with a guitar. There were no songs involved in it. But the moment I tried to involve songs, which always evoke an emotion, and all the songs that I have used in the show, we have not just randomly put songs together. अगर होश वालो है तो उसका कोई रेफरेंस है उस पोएम से. अगर आहिस्ता बाय पंकज उदास जी है उसका भी कोई रेफरेंस है शो में. तो बैठ के सलीके से अभिनंदन जोशी के साथ बैठकर हमने इस शो को अच्छे से बिठाया है, रमाया है. And I feel that music elevates the experience. I'm a very bad musician myself. I can't sing for my life. I can't play any musical instruments, but music really moves me. And it also gives my show a lot of rhythm. So I do give a lot of credit to always my accompanying musician. It is usually Abhin. Unless he's unavailable, then it is somebody else. But they really do elevate what I'm doing. And my Instagram is also Priya sometimes. So you
I
don't have to
noticed.
have Priya all the time. It is also good to have other artists. And I've got Vanika Santani opening the show as well, who's also an accomplished poet herself. So it is really lovely to be able to bring these artists to the forefront as well. And it's teamwork at the end of the day. I think every good show is teamwork. I think from people backstage to the NCPA team, even to the hair didi who's, curling my hair, I think everyone has something to add to the show, including the audience who snap and clap and cry and laugh and interact. तो बहुत अच्छा लगता है, एक जुगलबंदी होती है, and I think that's the fun of it, Rishi. That's why I always use music, and I also give a lot of tawajjo to it. I don't just think ये background में चल रहा है.
Nice. Now, this of course is an English language interview on an English radio station. Else we'd have you speaking in Urdu, and you speak it so beautifully. That itself is poetry. That itself is poetry when you speak it. You don't need to have put it in poem form. But what I want to come to is the language. Now, popular Indian culture, whether it was Hindi cinema written by Salim Javed in the 70s and 80s and thereon, were written in Urdu. Of late, we've seen the resurgence of traditional Hindustani, where they say Swayam and Pratham, as opposed to Urdu, or a mixture of Hindi and Urdu that used to happen in popular culture. Some people say that perhaps Urdu is not getting the recognition that it really deserves. Other people say it's still in safe hands. The Jashn-e-Rekhtas and the Musharas are still happening. Kavi Sammelans are happening. How do you feel about how Urdu is being treated in this day and age in this country, without getting into a larger political discussion, just in terms of language?
And without answering the entire question in Urdu, right? I find languages beautiful, just like I find all the art forms beautiful. I find myself very privileged and honored to be able to speak in a mixture of languages. The word Rekhta itself means mixture. And I think living in a diverse country such as India, it's not just about Hindi, English, Urdu. There is also Malayalam, and then there is Telugu, and then there is Tamil, and there is Gujarati and Punjabi. So I think it is beautiful to be able to utilize all the languages in my show. As far as Urdu is considered, Urdu definitely has a place in our everyday language. There are so many words that we use saying, ye meri kismat mein nahi hai. Kismat itself is an Urdu word. It's just that we don't realize. We are not very cognizant of the fact that we are utilizing Urdu. So I think every language has its place. Urdu is still very much there, very much loved, just as Hindi and English is. Yeah, definitely. So I do give it a lot of importance, and it's a very important form of language and expression for myself as well.
Yeah, lovely. There's no discounting that. I mean, we've all grown up with Urdu literature, culture, the language, and like you said, we use it subconsciously and unconsciously. Why do you say Ishq hai, Ishq hai, Ishq hai thrice?
It just rhymes. It fits. It's so when I write,
It's like a judge saying order, order, order.
it sticks, right?
It does. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
3 times is a charm. So I've got this poem, which is usually towards the end of the show, which is one of my popular pieces, which talks about the difference between pyar and ishq.
Ishq and pyar. Yeah. I've seen it many times. It's wonderful.
Yeah,
it's really
a
wonderful.
huge debate, when that piece had first come out. So this is like part 2. And it kind of reinforces the fact that ishq hai, ishq hai, ishq hai. Repetition also is a very important technique of spoken word. There are some things which make a poem from page to stage, and one of them is repetition. So I definitely utilize that technique quite a bit in my poems, and Ishq Hai happens to be the name of the show too.
Lovely. Who are the kind of authors, Urdu poets and prose writers that you grew up on? Were there the traditional ones like Ghalib and Mir, or did you also gravitate towards lyric writers like Majrooh Sultanpuri, for example? Just asking.
Sure. So I'm a huge fan of Gulzar Sahab. I think I've probably read every book he has ever written, every interview he has ever given. I have had the privilege of meeting him on several occasions, and I've been completely taken by his aura so much that I never asked for a photo. You know what I mean? But but growing up, I used to listen to a lot of. My dad used to listen to a lot of Hindi music. My dad used to listen to a lot of
Sahir.
Sahir Ludhianvi ji, my dad used to listen to R.D. Burman, my dad used to listen to Muhammad Rafi. So I always used to gravitate more towards the lyrics than anything else. And then I grew up in the times of no Google, and then I would try and find out behind the cassette as to who has written this song. And then there were all these names that I learned, Sahir and Majrooh Sultanpuri and Nida Fazli, especially with Jagjit Sahab when my dad used to listen to him. So I've kind of grown up listening to all of this, but I delved into it a lot later into life to try and understand the technicalities of lyrics writing. And definitely a huge fan of Gulzar Sahab and even Javed Akhtar Sahab, because they both are so similar yet so different in the way they write. So I find that absolutely fascinating. But yeah, I've read my Ghalibs, I've read my Mirs, I've read my Zauq, I've read all of that as well.
I'm so happy you chose Gulzar Saab. I mean, the king of metaphors. Who can possibly think of things like Din Khali Khali Bartan and Gila Gila Pani? It's just beautiful.
Gives me goosebumps every time. Yes.
Guys, Priya Malik performs 5th of January at the Experimental Theatre at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are out now. They're open now for booking. Book My Show, either on bookmyshow.com or you get the app Book My Show. Also, ncpamumbai.com if you want to read more about her, and that will also take you to the ticketing sites. So please read up, just come, enjoy yourself with the Experimental. I wish you all the best for year 2024 and everything that you do. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to seeing you at the show.
94.3 Radio 1.